from Ohio down to Alabama, they're also challenging the Supreme Court. But in this case, it's more about trying to limit people's access to voting. But you can probably guess which people they're trying to limit down there in Alabama. Let's go here. So Republicans down in Alabama are now ordered by a federal court to redraw their congressional maps to ensure that there are at least just two majority black districts there, so that black voters can actually have a voice that means something in the state that they live in and pay taxes. And crazy how that works. They didn't do that originally. Instead, they're going to go back to the same federal court after the Supreme Court weighed in and told them what to do on this because they're gerrymandering maps in illegal ways. This time, they're trying to argue that they're trying to come up with maps that are good enough. We're close enough, right? Here's some details. Hearings over this new map kicked off in federal court in Alabama on Monday. And the state is once again arguing that it is not illegally diluting the power of black voters. This week's hearing will be crucial to determining if the fight wraps up quickly or stretches on for potentially years to come, which is actually something that they would like to see because currently things are screwed up. Let's just muck it up in the legal system like Donald Trump tells you to do all the time, and we can keep things as is. A little bit more though, during Monday's hearing, all three of the judges on the panel questioned if Alabama was ignoring the court, the Supreme Court. Federal District Court Judge Terry F. Moore, an appointee of former President Donald Trump, pointedly asked if Alabama had chosen to deliberately disregard their instructions when drawing that new map. Now, by the way, these whole gerrymandered maps, as I mentioned, they only had one black majority district. And then in the state, we're talking about the proportions here. And in this state, there's 7 districts here. And 1 in 4 residents in the state is black. So just over 25% of the numbers in the state as far as the population, but only 1 in 7 districts get representation. This is one of those things, if you actually care about your citizens, this shouldn't be a fight that you're having at all. Republicans are arguing that the new map that they redrew effectively resets the clock for litigation. This is what they want. This is the delay part. The defendants acknowledged in a brief that the court opined that there should be 2 majority black voting districts or close to it. But they argue that act of the legislator redrawing the map effectively starts the process of challenging the lines over, especially because the legislator prioritized keeping specific communities of interest together in 2023, which they say was a change from the 2021 map the court previously struck down. And Governor Kay Ivey was celebrating their defiance of the Supreme Court because who cares, right? They're not gonna do anything. This is a conservative court that Donald Trump put together. This is what she said when she was high stepping. She goes, I signed SB 5, the redistricting map, and this is part of her statement that she attached. Following the US Supreme Court order, I called the Alabama legislator into a special session to readdress our congressional map. That sounds like maybe you're gonna tell them to do the right thing. The legislator knows our state, our people, and our districts better than the federal courts or activist groups. And I'm pleased that they answered the call, remained focused, and produced new districts ahead of the court deadline. New districts that were the same bad districts before. I want to point to one part here, Ray. She says, the legislator knows our state, our people, and our districts better than the federal courts. Do you know that the people in your state are over 25% black and you've got 1 in 7 districts representing them? You know that, because you said you know your people. What you maybe know about your people is that you're trying to appeal to the racist natures of your state and you're trying to ignore black folks in violation of the Voting Rights Act. Is that something else you know? So when they say these things that are all boisterous and strong and we're standing on our morals, all those things are saying your morals are racist and it's based in discriminating against folks, voters who pay. So if you're going to underrepresent these folks in your state, maybe they shouldn't pay the taxes in your state. Isn't that what that whole thing was, being overtaxed back in the day that we like to brag about from Americans, patriots that threw some damn tea in the water because they're being overtaxed without representation? I remember that story because we like to praise it all the time. But when it comes to people you don't like, underrepresent them all you want. I'm done ranting.
It is, I think a lot of people have misconceptions about what voter suppression and disenfranchisement looks like today. I think a lot of people think about, how it used to happen in our country. You had KKK members stationed outside of polling places. You had polling taxes. White supremacist groups would organize lynchings ahead of elections to put fear into the black residents so that they wouldn't go to the polls. But this is how, and not to say that those things sometimes don't still happen in our horrific horrifically racist country. But this is the way that they try to do it now, by reducing the voting power of their black residents by grouping them all and giving them only one congressional district to make sure that their vote means as little as they could possibly make it mean. So when you see people like Kay Ivey celebrating this, is there really a meaningful distinction between celebrating this and celebrating, the KKK standing out in front of polling places? It's the same type of racism. It's the same type of disenfranchising black voters. And this is an exceptionally horrifically racist thing. And we should all be raising an alarm on this, because you're exactly right, Jayar. What they're trying to do is they're trying to slow down the process as much as possible before the next election, to make sure that the black voters in this state have as little say as possible as to who the next president of the United States will be and who gets to represent their interests in the federal government.
Simple questions could always be asked of folks like this. So you guys understand, state the facts. There's 1 in 7 districts that are black. Do you guys not care that black people are underrepresented? Do you want it this way? Do you not understand it? They have to answer the question. They may understand, or they may say, I don't know. Well, if you don't know, then you shouldn't be representing the state. You shouldn't be ahead of this whole thing, trying to understand what apparently you don't. I'm not sure what their answer would be, because they never get asked these questions so directly. Maybe they don't even put themselves in a position to be asked these questions. It's probably the first point. But once the layers come off, we know what the objective has become. And they're like, well, we kind of got close, right? Because they moved one district that's majority white from 30% of the black vote when these gerrymandered from 30 to 39. That changes everything. No one's buying it.